In her first week on campus, Sandra learned something no orientation handbook ever warned her about. It wasn't about lectures. It wasn't about grades. It wasn't even about money. It was about identity. Because in Queen Esther Hostel, Block C, Room 214, being different came at a price. And Sandra was different in the one way that seemed to matter most. She was a virgin. Sandra arrived at the university on a humid Sunday afternoon, her box balanced awkwardly on her head as her mother walked beside her, complaining softly about the heat. The hostel building rose before them. 4 floors of peeling cream paint, rusted railings, and windows crowded with colorful curtains. Laughter echoed from somewhere above. Music played faintly in the background. This was it. University life. Sandra's heart beat fast, not from fear, but from expectation. She had dreamed of this place for years. A place where no one knew her as the quiet church girl. A place where she could reinvent herself. A place where she could finally breathe. Her mother hugged her tightly at the hostel gate. "Remember who you are," she whispered. "Not everyone you meet will mean well." Sandra nodded, though she didn't fully understand the weight of those words yet. Room 214 smelled of detergent, perfume, and something slightly sour, like damp mattresses that had lived too long in one place. 3 girls were already inside. They looked up when Sandra entered. One lay on her bed, scrolling through her phone. Another stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her wig. The third sat cross-legged on the floor, laughing loudly into a phone call. They looked confident, worldly. Sandra swallowed. This was her new world. Introductions came quickly. There was Tosin, the loud one. Final year student repeating a course, sharp-tongued, fearless, and always laughing. Laura, the mirror girl, beautiful, soft-spoken, always smelling like expensive perfume. And Kimmy, quiet but observant, her eyes always watching, always measuring. They welcomed Sandra politely. But something shifted the moment the questions began. "What course? How old? Do you have a boyfriend?" Sandra answered honestly. "Noble Ephraim." A pause followed. Not awkward, not uncomfortable, just curious. Tosin loaned. "So, you're single? Sandra smiled nervously. "I guess so." Laura raised an eyebrow. "For how long?" "All my life." The room went quiet for half a second. Then Tosin burst out laughing. "Oh my God, we have a baby here." Sandra laughed too, unsure whether she was meant to. It was just jokes, she told herself. Just harmless jokes. The real conversation happened a week later. It was past midnight. The hostel generator hummed outside. The girls lay on their beds, the room dim except for phone screens. Girl talk began the way it always did. Relationships, heartbreaks, regrets. Stories flowed freely. Laura talked about her ex who paid her rent but cheated. Tosin shared a wild story about a fling during her second year. Even Kimmy, usually reserved, spoke quietly about someone who had once promised marriage. Sandra listened. She laughed at the right moments. She nodded. Then Tosin turned to her. "Your turn." Sandra hesitated. "My turn for what?" "Don't pretend," Tosin said. "Everyone has a story." Sandra's heart began to race. "I don't," she said softly. They stared at her. "What do you mean you don't?" "I mean, I've never been with anyone." Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Lara's eyes widened. Kimmy looked down. Tosin sat up. "Wait," she said slowly. "Are you saying you're a virgin?" Sandra nodded. The word hung in the air like smoke. Tosin let out a low whistle. "In university?" Sandra felt something twist in her chest. "Yes," she said. "Is that strange?" No one answered immediately. That silence was louder than laughter. From that night onward, something changed. No one said it outright, but Sandra felt it. The glances. The jokes that weren't really jokes. The way conversations stopped when she entered the room. Tosin started calling her Sister Sandra. Laura offered unsolicited advice. "You know, there's nothing wrong with experimenting," she said one afternoon while applying lip gloss. "Life is short." Sandra smiled politely. Kimmy said nothing, but watched. Soon the hostel knew. Sandra wasn't sure how it spread. It always spreads. Whispers in bathrooms. Laughs in corridors. Side comments during midnight discussions. She's the one. The virgin. The church girl. Sandra tried to ignore it. She focused on lectures. on books, on prayers whispered quietly at night. But isolation has a way of creeping in slowly, like water seeping into cracks. The pressure didn't come as force. It came as suggestion. Just try it once. You're missing out. You can't be in school and be forming none. Sometimes it came wrapped in concern. Are you okay? Is it fear? Did something happen to you? Other times, it came as ridicule. Tosin laughed loudly one evening. If we bring a man here now, Sandra will faint. Everyone laughed. Everyone except Sandra. She smiled anyway, because sometimes smiling is easier than explaining. His name was Daniel. He sat 2 rows behind Sandra in a general studies class. He spoke gently, listened carefully, never laughed too loudly. They started talking over notes, then over coffee, then over walks across campus in the evenings when the air was cooler and the noise softer. Daniel never asked questions that felt invasive. He never rushed her words. For the first time since arriving on campus, Sandra felt seen, not judged, just understood. She told him things about her fears, her faith, her confusion. One evening, sitting on a bench near the faculty building, she told him the truth. "I'm a virgin," she said, bracing herself. Daniel nodded. Okay, that was it. No laughter, no lose belief, no pressure, just okay. Sandra almost cried. When the girls found out about Daniel, their interest spiked. Is he fine? Does he have money? Have you kissed him? Sandra answered selectively. One night, Tosin cornered her. Don't waste his time, she said bluntly. Men don't like waiting. Sandra said nothing. Laura added gently. Just be careful. Boys like that pretend to be patient. Doubt crept in. Late at night, alone on her bed, Sandra wondered. Was she naive? Was she old-fashioned? Was she holding on to something meaningless? The questions came louder than answers. The breaking point came during a hostel party. Music, lights, laughter. Alcohol flowed freely. Sandra didn't drink. Daniel was there. Later that night, alone in his room, he asked her a question. Not demanding, not forceful. Just honest. What do you want? Sandra looked at him. At herself. At everything she had been taught. Everything she had resisted. Everything she feared losing. She realized something in that moment. Her virginity wasn't the issue. Her choice was. She shook her head gently. Not yet. Daniel nodded. I'll wait, he said. And for the first time, Sandra understood that waiting wasn't weakness. It was power. Word spread again. This time differently. Some mocked her. Some admired her quietly. Kimmy finally spoke one night. I wish I was brave like you, she said softly. Sandra smiled sadly. I'm not brave, she said. I'm just honest with myself. By final year, Sandra had changed. Not because she gave in, but because she grew. She learned that being alone didn't mean being lonely. That values aren't meant to be popular. That silence can be strength. She wasn't the only virgin anymore. She was just herself. And that was enough. University didn't break Sandra. It tested her. It stripped her. It questioned her. But it also taught her something important. That identity is not defined by pressure. That worth is not measured by experience. That sometimes standing alone is how you find yourself. And somewhere in Queen Esther Hostel, Block C, Room 214, a girl learned that being different wasn't a curse. It was her story. Sometimes the hardest thing in life is not fitting in. But sometimes it's the most powerful thing you'll ever do.